Well, when it comes to business, I have to tell you, I've been in mortgage lending 23 years, and helping first-time home buyers still holds a very, very special place in my heart. Before I got into mortgage lending, I had a friend who was a loan officer, what I do now for my work. And she took the time to help me get a loan, my very first home loan. And I have to tell you, I wasn't a very easy client. You know, I was like, I don't want to do this. And what do you mean I have to write a letter of explanation? And she was very patient with me, thank goodness, because I needed it. And so I took that experience. And so when I decided to get into this, I was like, I want to make sure I give that back. I want to make sure that I am as patient, as understanding, and knowledgeable as she was with me. I was working actually in Florida in hotel sales. So my background is in sales, and I wasn't happy. I sort of reached the point where we were having our first daughter, and it was a lot of hours, and I had no flexibility. And I had a very good friend who helped us get our home loan in Florida, and she said, you know, Linda, if you can sell room nights, you can do mortgages. Because I had an interest in it. We had sold and bought already a couple of properties. And so based on her sort of recommendation and confidence building, I went out and said, all right, I'm going to go take the test. And I passed the test. It's not so much complicated as it is tedious. Maybe that's a better way to put it. So much has happened in housing and in mortgage lending over the last 15 years. You know, we went from anybody who could breathe could get a loan. And then we got to, the housing bust in 2007, 2008, and then the recession. So now we're at a point back kind of to where we started 23 years ago when I got in the business, in terms of let's do it with more forethought. Let's make sure that people really can qualify, that they can afford the payment, that we've verified their income. So over that time, unfortunately, with the regulatory environment and the changes in the number of regulatory agencies that are now over us, that's what's making the paperwork more and a little bit more difficult. Everybody's a little bit more concerned about risk. So every lender is hyper aware of the risk associated with mortgage lending and the fines that could be levied upon them if they don't do it correctly. So you should never go shopping unless you have the money in your pocket. That's always my opinion about everything, and that definitely is true for home shopping. Why would you ever go out looking at a house? How do you know what your price range is? So you decide you think you can afford $500,000? Well, I may look at it and go, no, I'm sorry, that's like $200,000. That's a big difference in house. So you should always get pre-qualified first. We need to look at your credit, see where that's at. Maybe there's inaccuracies on your credit report. Just because it's on there doesn't make it accurate. So you need to make sure you have a qualified mortgage lender, and it has to be a credit report drawn by a mortgage lender. We use different scoring models than Credit Karma and some of these other consumer credit agencies. Find out what your credit is. Have someone review your income. I mean, it's easy for me to talk on the phone and you can say, oh, I make $15 an hour. And then I look at your tax returns and you have unreimbursed business expenses of $10,000. I'm like, nope. That's not what we're going to use for your income. So you need somebody who's experienced and qualified and knows, and then you can say, once you get the golden ticket, the pre-approval letter, then you go shopping. Literally, it can be one day. If you provide me all of the documentation that I need, tax returns, recent pay stubs, 2 months bank statements, I can pull a credit report, look at the income, calculate the income, run it through our automated underwriting systems literally within an hour. Yeah, first of all, we never laugh at you because you know what? We've all had life experiences. I had my very first loan. I didn't have stellar credit. So I understand it. And especially over the last 5 years, everybody's had something that's happened to them. Everybody. So I always say, look, I know it could feel embarrassing, but if we don't know where you stand, we can never tell you where you need to go. It's like going to the doctor and saying, I have a pain in my back, but then you don't let him examine you. So you have to let us look at credit. That is the most important piece in getting pre-qualified and being able to buy a home. So get over your embarrassment. talk to somebody who you feel comfortable with. I mean, if you're talking to somebody and you feel like they're going to laugh at you, pick up the phone and call somebody else. Make sure that the people that you're putting on your team are people that you can trust and that you feel comfortable with. I work with all types of home buyers and properties, with the possible exception of condos, which are very difficult to get financing for, regardless of where you work. But, you know, if you prefer a townhome over a single family, great. That's your personal preference. So you should definitely decide if that's what you want. A lot of people want less maintenance. Townhome's going to give you that. Maybe you prefer a high-rise. Maybe that's the kind of living you want. So it's really based on personal preference of the buyer. When I got into mortgage lending in '92 in Massachusetts, I got involved there at the local level with the town of Barnstable, and so I learned about down payment assistance at that level. So when I moved here in '98, I sought out agencies who were doing the same kind of thing. And first I worked with EOB, Economic Opportunity Board. You guys may remember them. They're now defunct, unfortunately. But after that, then I got to know some of the folks at NHSSN. And I've always enjoyed working with nonprofits. I like volunteering with them. And of course, I want to have those down payment assistance programs available for my clients. Because if my clients don't use them, somebody else will. So why not offer them? Yeah, some really specific documentation. So the last 2 years' tax returns, all pages with their W-2s. If you don't have them, you need to contact the IRS. You can do it online. You can do it over the phone. They will email them or fax them to you. Now, I don't think they email. I think they fax. So make sure you have that. You need to have 2 recent pay stubs, and you have to have 2 months' bank statements. A lot of times if people do online banking, I say just come on in the office, we'll access them online. Because not everybody has printers. So same thing with pay stubs. If you don't get them regularly from your employer, come on in, we'll print them off of whatever website you have. But you have to have that information because we can't do our job unless we see that whole picture. My name is Linda Ayres. I work with First California Mortgage. My direct number is area code 702-591-4460. My email address is layres@first.net. And please, if you're thinking about buying anywhere in Nevada, licensed in the entire state, happy to help you and kind of walk you through the process so you know what you need to do, and if it's not today, what's the process?